You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all, welcome in. We are back. It's the Insight NFL Podcast. We are live. Sorry, I was thinking, is this pre-recorded? But no, we are live. Thursday, the 6th of November. What a great start. Great start to the final show of the week. Week 10 primer and our starts of the week, Secko. So our last show that we can kind of get out there and finally prepare for the weeks to come. I mean, week 10, just can't believe it. Still gobsmacked. You know, we just have to face it at this point that it's gone this quick. But how are you feeling as we head into week 10 with their starts of the week coming up shortly?
Yeah, mate, it's past the halfway mark now, so we're on the back nine. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I've been a bit crook this week, so apologies for my voice. If anyone can sort of hear that, anyone watching can see my face is yeah, it's a bit red at the moment, a bit crook, but no, powering through for the fantastic insight community we have here, and hoping you guys some W's with some starts and a real primer for week 10 because yeah, the season's getting on.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I thought, Secko, you might have been a little bit red. You might have just been watching some JJ McCarthy highlights from last week. Perhaps and it's, get you feeling a sort of way. But we'll wait and see what he does this week. And yeah, we'll get through to that game. So guys, on this show tonight, we'll go through a massive injury report that we've got with as much news that we have up to this point. There's still a couple of practices to come. So again, there are a couple of questionable players. Make sure to you're staying in tune with that if you do have them in your lineups this week. Then from there, we've got our starts of the week. We had a couple of hits last week, which was good. And then we'll go through our game-by-game breakdown and, just kind of previewing the week ahead. So, Secko, let's jump straight into our injuries. But before I do that, I will just preface any questions to guys. We love all the comments in the chat. We will get to questions at the end of the show, but purely just start-sit questions for this one in a traditional fantasy landscape. If you've got SuperCoach, if you're not too sure on who to start or sit on that regard too, we'll be happily to help out on that one too live at the end of the show. Let's get into injuries. Kyler Murray, quarterback for the Cardinals, is on IR. Gee, they're really leaning into that narrative that he is injured. Dealing with a foot injury, they think 4 to 8 weeks was that timeline. Again, still up in the air, but you'd really think that this is just a Jacoby Brissett has looked great the last few weeks without Kyler. He can run the offense. Marvin Harrison looks competent, looks okay. How are you feeling about this news, Secko? Do you believe that he is injured a bit, or do you just think, the Cardinals, they were just going to run with Brissett?
No, I can't possibly believe it because I remember footage of him last Wednesday and Thursday practice. He was moving perfectly, like it's a week ago. There's no word of re-aggravation. He was moving like he was trying to go for the job, and they soft benched him last week, and covered behind the foot. And then they realised they can't really, they could, but they don't want to say he's benched. So they're using that foot and saying 4 to 8 to 16 to career out. I don't think he's ever playing for them again. I think
agree.
they're just going to milk this. IR, he's close, he's not yet. Season's over, we'll put him on ice, and then they'll just trade him for peanuts. So, but yeah, for us, as everyone who, no one's got Kyler Murray anymore. If you'd have him, he's gone. You can drop him, obviously. Don't hold on. Best case is he plays in week 15. If you make the playoffs with him there, you're not going to want to start him. There's no buyers. So get rid of him. But for Brissett, he helps us massively with Harrison and McBride, as you said. And Trey Benson back, I think, with a more structured offense, if Trey Benson's back and fit, we don't have to worry about DeMarcado or Bam Knight. They haven't really shown that much. So it's going to be a pretty solid outing from the three main guys, which is good, what we want for fantasy. So bring it on, and Kyler can go somewhere else.
Yeah, we need Benson back, and that's still up in the air too when he is meant to return, because that guessing game of DeMarcado, is it Bam Knight? I know I was on the Bam Knight side last week for one of my starts of the week. That was a massive dud. He was definitely playing second fiddle there, but yeah, Kyler, interesting to see where he will play out. It's a shame too. A few years back, he was MVP candidate when they had D-Hop back in 2020. He finishes the quarterback 3 in half PPR fantasy. So like 819 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns on that year. That is insane. So yeah, hopefully he can come back for a team that can kind of work his structure a little bit more with how he plays. But Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jacksonville Jaguars, wide receiver, dealing with a low grade high ankle, which is a bit confusing. He was a DNP. I thought with that Jacoby Myers trade, maybe he's decided that BTJ injury is a lot worse than what we're thinking, but now he's a chance to play. So we'll have to wait and see how that one kind of pans out. How do you feel on that one, Secko, with BTJ and the Jags?
Yeah. It's weird, like these sort of high ankle sprains, like the low grade high ankles makes no sense, but it does if you sort of think sometimes a high ankle can be no weeks or 3 weeks. Like it sort of just seems like it's one or the other, depending on how serious it is and how much is pain tolerance as opposed to structural. But yeah, the Myers signing made it seem like they needed someone immediately. Maybe not. Maybe it's more optics, but I thought the BTJ and obviously Hunter would be out this week with Myers coming across. And but yeah, we'll see what happens there. I think the offense just gets a lot better. Myers is really good. He obviously wanted out, so he's been playing pretty ordinary when he's been playing in Las Vegas, just because he doesn't want to be there. He was a bit like Sauce Gardner before he got traded as well. Not playing their best because they sort of want to get out and show this interest. So he could be a sneaky little. If you've got him or you can find a way to trade for him, he could be a sneaky little ad because Hunter's out for a while and BTJ may be out for a while. So.
Yeah, and you might
watch.
even be able to get him at a discount too after their matchup. I think they've got the Texans this week, and he might coming in might get half the snaps and just have an absolute dud of a game. So then again, that opportunity just gets wider and wider. Another one here that is sad to read out. Bucky Irving. There's an update. He's progressing, but is still not taking contact on that shoulder. He was dealing with that unknown foot injury, which again kind of up in the air. And then it came out that the shoulder injury was more severe. Won't play this week. We know that for a fact, hoping that he can come back because I think it's been, I don't know if it's been 6 weeks, including the bye that he's missed.
I think he would have been eligible the week before the bye. So this would be 6 weeks now, I think. So they're always going to say hold him out through the bye because his eligible week would be the bye week. So yeah, essentially he's it's 6 weeks, 5 games. That's a decent amount of time because the time we thought he wasn't on IR, remember, either. So it was in line with the IR timelines, but he wasn't actually officially put on IR. It's a bit of a weird one for Bucky.
Hopefully he can come back soon. Went any bad. CJ Stroud for the Texans, he's ruled out with that concussion. He left the game halfway through last week. Davis Mills, gross as up against the Jags. That game, I don't think a lot of eyes will be on that one. It is a divisional game too, so it can get a little bit gritty in those matchups. So we'll have to wait and see. Michael Pittman Jr. for the Colts, he had a DNP in practice today with a glute injury that's kind of popped up out of nowhere. Again, it is still earlier in the week. Very good chance he still plays, but we just need to keep track of this over the next couple of days. Rico Dowdle with a quad injury did not practice, and head coach Canales is optimistic that he will play, and they really need him to because Trouba's taken a massive step back. I mean, Dowdle pretty much himself beat the Packers on that, beat the Packers defense. They ran everything through him. Panthers defense was good in turn as well, but I mean, having him there, just the time of possession game really took over for that one. But how are you feeling about Dowdle rest of season, Secko?
Yeah, I mean, he's done. He's proven. I was a big Dowdle guy at the start of the season. I'm actually annoyed because I had him in a few spots and dropped him just for other hot pickups when it looked like Chuba was going nowhere because of the contract. I fell for the money doesn't lie narrative, which I never do, but this time I did, and it sucks because I had plenty of Dowdle and I'd be loving it. But yeah, this is a big one. If he's injured, he's actually got third most rushing yards on the season. And he hardly played in those first 4 weeks. So what he's done's been phenomenal. He's obviously had 2 monsters, like real monsters. So if he's out, I mean, Chuba's probably back to full fitness. So he may actually get a bit of his job back if he performs pretty well this week. But Canales seems pretty certain that Rico will play. So we'll wait to see what happens tomorrow practice. I'm expecting a limited participation. If he's DNP again, then it's a serious concern, and obviously look for other options. But until then, we should be right.
Up against the Saints too. I think if he wasn't dealing with that injury, could have well and truly been in our starts of the week category for this week. That's a smash matchup at home, and he's been an absolute beast. Another running back injury that's popped up, James Cook for the Bills. Sad to read it out, dealing with an ankle that happened during the Chiefs' win when they beat the Chiefs last week. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Secko, I know you put the injuries together, and I noticed all the leagues we're in, a couple of notifications coming through. Secko's picked up Ray Davis, speculatively just getting ready just in case. And guys, that's a great thing that you can do. Get ahead of the curve. Again, there's still a couple of days of practice to go. Every chance he does play, but I mean, that off chance he doesn't, Ray Davis slots straight in. They're up against the Dolphins. If Davis plays and is the lead, I mean, you can nearly pencil him in for a touchdown himself. So love that, Secko. Very savvy. Upset I couldn't jump on that one. But how are you feeling, with James Cook? Are you optimistic, or, how's that kind of looking towards week 10?
Well, yeah, so I actually dug into it more when I saw it, just to see if it was viable to get Davis. And a lot of the Buffalo people on Twitter are a bit more pessimistic than the Twitter docs, if you will, where they look like, it looked a bit more serious when they watched the replays back of the injury. It was sort of a roll up on as well as a sort of hip drop. So it was sort of double impact, if you will, on that ankle. So we won't know, but the matchup's just too good. If he plays, he's a top 3 running back this week. If he doesn't play, Ray Davis is a top 12. So it's, you got James Cook in your team, look for backups. But I mean, we'll know, like Rico, we'll know more tomorrow, whether he practices or not. Essentially, if they don't practice on the Thursday, it's sort of less likely than they are to play. If they practice limited, they usually play. So you'll know a lot more tomorrow morning.
And a couple of guys that it is trending towards them not starting this week. Ramondre Stevenson dealing with that toe injury for the Patriots. Doesn't look like he'll play. Terry McLaurin, I think you can pretty much rule him out. It doesn't look like with that quad, he re-aggravated it. I think that was against the Chiefs. So again, he won't play. And I think with Mariota in there, they're in no rush to bring him back. Ricky Pearsall as well for the 49ers. He's just, I mean, how many weeks has he missed now? 5. This will be his 6th week missed.
7,
and there's still
7.
And there's still really no update on that one too. And it's a shame because he would slot in. We saw what he was doing at the start of the year. He was cooking. Maybe they're waiting until Brock Purdy's ready to go as well, and they can bring these guys in together, perhaps, because they keep winning at the moment. I'd be surprised if they win again against the Rams. But how do you feel on that one, Tech? I know we'll get to a little bit later on, but just initial thoughts. Surely you're feeling confident against the 49ers this week.
Not at all. To your first point, I think that they're 6-3 and they've been pretty crap. They've got no defense. They're missing a lot of weapons, and they're still managing to have good records. So I think when Purdy's ready, Pearson will be ready at the same time, and then Ayuk will be only a week or so after that. So they'll have a full complement for the last sort of 4 or 5 games. No, I'm never confident against the 49ers because they beat us earlier in the year when they were crap and beaten up. And it happens every time. So we'll talk about it later. But Mac Jones can't beat us surely. But stranger things.
If he throws for 340 and 2 touchdowns again, I'll be gobsmacked. I can't even that's unreal. But anyhow, we'll get we'll get to that a bit later on. But that's all the injury updates. And like I touched on, make sure to stay in tune over the next couple of days because there will be more practices and we'll have some more news and updates throughout there. Starts of the week, Secko. I think we kind of went 2-2 last week off the top of my head with some hits. I know I had Debo and Bam Knight were not good at all. Debo, unfortunately, I thought he was a smash spot, but Daniels and they were getting too smacked at that point. But I think feeling pretty confident this week. We do have 4 teams on bye again in the Chiefs, Bengals, Cowboys, and the Titans. It was a little bit harder to pick starts this week, I think, because we don't have those gifts of a defense matchups in the Bengals and the Cowboys are 2 worst in the league. But we'll go through them. We'll kick off with quarterback, and I'll throw it to you first, Secko, on this one. Who do you have as your quarterback at the start of the week?
Awesome. I've got Jackson Dart. Got the man. He's been fantastic. He's scored over 20 fantasy points 5 of the last 6. His worst score of the year because he's only been in for 5 games or 6 games, and his worst score is 19.6. So he scored over 19.6 every time, which is just, it's a great floor, but he also has ceiling. So he's also either rushed for a touchdown or run 55 yards. So he's putting on those sort of 5, 6 to 9 sort of points rushing, which is what we want in fantasy. We look for it out of quarterbacks who can add scores with their legs. He's sort of a prototype of a great fantasy quarterback. He's in the mold. I think I might have said it before, and it sounds blasphemous, but he's in the mold of Josh Allen and Drake May. He's very similar in the way that he goes about scoring his fantasy points. That's all we care about. He's doing it all with no weapons, and he's proven it time and time again. He had Neighbours for 1 game. He's been doing this, week after week without him. Slayton and Robinson and Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger, like no running backs. His best running back, best mate, got injured, and he's still doing it. So, and he's facing the Bears, who have given up the 5th most points to quarterbacks. 4 of the quarterbacks they've played have given up over 26 points. So I think it's just a smash spot. Hopefully Jackson Dart can throw a couple, run a couple, do like the real Josh Allen, stat line, and get whoever's got him can kick the week off well.
Yeah, I love Jackson Dart here. Secko, great matchup to target. And yeah, I love your point. He's doing this all with nobody. He's got really no help there. I'm actually in a bit of a pickle dynasty trade. I've got Jackson Dart trying to move him, and it's just I don't know. It's hard to let go because of just like they're getting the Malik Neighbours back next year. Cam Scatterbo, they'll probably have an early pick. They can add more to Dart. So love it. In a redraft lens there. My quarterback start of the week, Jared Goff, up against the Commanders. Very surprising that the Lions lost last week to Socky's first start back after the first couple of weeks there. I think the Lions, the way that Dan Campbell kind of coaches, I think they're going to come out and just absolutely put so much on the Commanders. Like they could really run up a cricket score against these guys. And we've seen with the Lions in the past, when they're up a heap, they don't really slow down. Like Goff, he'll throw touchdowns in the 4th quarter. It doesn't matter if they get in close. So I'm hoping in this matchup, the Commanders are third best at fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks so far this year. Star corner Marshawn Lattimore is ruled out with an Achilles, I think, or an ACL. He's done for the year. Their secondary as a whole is just super beat up. And just coming off that loss to the Vikings in that divisional game, I think they'll come out firing, and Goff should have a few touchdowns in hand.
100% agree. And I love your point about they don't slow down. It's what we love about fantasy from Goff, but Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Monty, J-Mo, Laporta. They don't just put the cue in the rack. They like to put points on. I'm not sure why Dan Campbell does it. He's a masochist, but when they're beating a team, they like to smash them, which we love.
We love it. We do. We absolutely love it. And your running back side of the week, Secko, I love this one. Even better with that news to Stevenson that we just had. But no, please take it away.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. Cover your nose when you say it. It's Travion Henderson. It's I can't. It's a bit like your Colston Loveland stuff. Mull, I can't quit this guy. Something's going to happen one day, and I want to be on board when it does. I mean, the good news. I mean, last week he had the bulk of the work, which is great. He didn't get the goal line. There was only one rush inside the 5, and Jennings got it. That could have been situational, but they're using him out of the backfield, and May's good at getting the ball onto guys. All of his good runs, all of his good plays out of the on screens were all when he was given it to him in space, and so they would have seen that. Like they would have learned a little bit. McDaniels would have gone, hang on, this guy is not really going to be a smash through the middle kind of runner, 10 times kind of guy. We need to get him more creative into space. So I'm expecting that to happen. Obviously, Steve-O's going to miss again. The Bucks read poorly against running backs. They're a bad matchup against running backs, but they are number 6 in most receptions given up to running backs. So again, it's not going to be good for Terrell Jennings, who's the other guy. It wouldn't have been so good for Ramondre if he was in, because their defensive front's great, but it's getting the guys open to space. So those two things together, I just see it as being a great spot for him to have plenty of catches and do a sort of a Bijan Robinson a few weeks ago when he had 8 for 80 and only had 8 for 50 on the ground or whatever it was, 40 on the ground. Get most of his points through the passing game.
Yeah, I just got to make a note, Secko, to check Henderson's receiving line this week when I start to put a few things together.
Yep.
Great call. 6 targets last week, 4 catches. And yeah, I like it because on paper, like you said, the Bucks are super tough against the run, but that outside and like they've got a couple of big, slow, beefy boys up front. Henderson with his speed, hopefully, they game plan for him a little bit more this week, and no booty as well. So another less weapon for May to throw to. Hopefully, more to Henderson. My running back start of the week, running with you with rookie running backs, Quinshot Judkins up against the Jets. And Judkins, he's off the injury report. That was the only thing where I was a little hesitant, but off the bye, he'll be healthy, ready to go. He really is this offense with Gabriel under center. He'll get everything. He'll have 20-plus carries. He'll have a couple catches in the backfield. And up against the Jets, who have just sold out their whole defense, they're just completely giving up on this year. I think Cleveland win this one comfortably, as hard as that is to say. But Judkins, he could be a couple of touchdowns this week for him. And yeah, I think, without Quinnen Williams for the Jets, I mean, he's just going to be able to run straight through these guys this week. So for me, Judkins, I won't say touchdown guarantee just yet because there's the Cleveland Browns and they are just so gross on offense. But I really do like Judkins this week. And back off the bye, should be in for a smash spot.
So
your wide receiver,
my wide receiver is another one. I don't know why I do it to myself, but I like to get the guys who are coming off a bad week as bounce back. It's more to show you guys and girls out there that you can trust in these good players. And one bad game doesn't mean it's going to be tough sledding and they have to be a sit. It's Roma Dunze. After having a donut last week, he's in a great spot. And it's hard to say, it's hard to think, but he's facing the Giants, which is it's fantastic. They're a top 5 defense for giving up points to wide receivers. They've allowed, I think, 10 touchdowns to wide receiver ones this year in their games. They're getting absolutely torched by the best player out there. And last week was a bit of a weird one. Obviously, he picked up a bit of an injury. And watching that game, he appeared like a bit of a decoy, which is tough. It's tough for you and One, tough for you got him. But he really wasn't. He really wasn't sort of, obviously a first read very often, which is weird against a bad defense like the Bengals. Having said that, they're bad except for their number one cornerback, DJ Turner, is actually pretty good. And he's shut down some really good players like Justin Jefferson, Cortland Sutton. Neither of them had 50 yards against him. So you put it all together. Dunze was destined for a bit of a downer. This is the week where it all bounces back against the Giants, who don't have a cornerback to worry about. And I can just see Williams hitting a Dunze. This is definitely a touchdown guarantee. I'm looking at the prop for 2 of them because I feel like it's a smash for him.
Yeah, I love it. And it's just the best bounce back after that donut. And an absolute, what we thought was just going to be the best matchup for him. But yeah, everything's lining up. And I hope you're right because I've got a Dunze in way too many spots in my traditional fantasy league. So I'm on board there. My wide receiver start of the week, Cortland Sutton up against the Raiders. Cortland Sutton the last few weeks, he's been a little bit hit or miss. He's had a couple of tough matchups. Well, not Dallas in week 8. That should have been an absolute smash, which was surprising. But at that point, they were absolutely killing their Cowboys and their defense was enough to kind of keep them out of it for the rest of the game. Last week up against Houston, he had Derek Stingley on him, and he's one of the top lockdown corners in this league. I do really like Sutton to bounce back in this spot. It's a divisional matchup, first game of the week against the Raiders, who have been absolutely horrid for them. And I know it's not the team situations have changed from this year to last year, but last time they played Vegas, Sutton went off for 8 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. I'm not predicting that kind of that scoreline, but I think a touchdown, 80-odd yards, 5 catches, I'd be pretty happy with for Cortland Sutton. And even better, the Raiders are allowing the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. So hopefully they don't beat them too heavily. I think in this divisional game, it might be a little bit closer than what people are thinking. But yeah, Cortland Sutton for me against the Raiders to kick things off for us tomorrow.
Thursday night game as well. They often can be a little bit tighter. With both teams sort of on short weeks. So I love that. Love that call. I can see it being a big one for him.
Tight ends. Secko,
Right. And
I like yours here. I just like mine a little bit better, but we'll get to that.
yours is great. I'm glad I went first because we can definitely save yours for a second. Mine's Kate Otten, and this is a play based on Godwin. Obviously, is going to be out again. The news we got in parallel with, we didn't say it because he sort of was never close to playing, but he's like Bucky, getting better, but not really close to playing yet. Evans is definitely out. So you got sort of your Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepherd, Cameron Johnson. There's not really much for Baker to play against, and they're playing the Patriots. So Igbuka's probably going to be held somewhat if he's on Gonzalez. They'll probably game plan for him. I feel like Otten's the kind of guy who can get big and open in the middle. The linebackers are sort of exploitable in Patriots. So I think Otten's just a safe, good tight end. He's probably not going to have your 80 plus or multiple touchdowns, but he's the kind of guy who's going to probably get you 12 to 14 PPR fantasy points, which for a tight end is fantastic because you either have monsters or duds every week that you're streaming. So Otten's available on waiver wise. You can pick him up and play him if you're recovering from Kraft or you've got Ferguson or Kelsey on bye. So pick him up, and the Patriots have been sort of a little bit susceptible to that tight end position, like I said. So he should be a strong start.
Yeah, this is a great one. Injuries, that have been happening to that team, and I do love the matchup because last week my tight end start of the week did face them, and he had 7 targets. Didn't really do too much, but they are allowing a lot more opportunities to that position. My tight end start of the week. This is not a drill. I'm just dreaming. Kyle Pitts up against the Colts. And the only thing that I'm a little bit skeptical about, this is an international game. It is over in Germany, Berlin. Those things can be a little bit up in the air. But Kyle Pitts, man, he's been getting a lot of opportunities the last 3 weeks. 10 targets in week 7, 9 in week 8, 7 in week 9. And I think there's a very good chance he'll have at least 7 in this game up against the Colts. It's a high implied points total for this one, 48.5, one of the higher ones for the week. And the Colts, they've just added Sauce Gardner. They've got Shadavius Ward there as well. So I think the wide receivers are going to get a little bit more attention this week, and it'll just hopefully open things up for Kyle Pitts. And even before those moves and additions that the Colts added on that defense, they have been allowing the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. So I just really like this one. Even better that I can get to throw in Kyle Pitts here nice and early to kick off the show. And I hope he absolutely smashes this week. I mean, he hasn't had a touchdown since week 4. I think this international game up against the Colts in a high-scoring affair could be the one to get him back on track.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope. Enough Kyle Pitts. Defenses, Secko, who have you got?
I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, which can be a bit gross. They've been a bit average for the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. But they're playing against Davis Mills. CJ Stroud's confirmed out. And Davis Mills is probably enough of a green light for you to pick this defense to play against them, because Davis Mills is a lifetime 5-20 win-loss ratio as a starter. He had 29 starts, or 29 games where he's had at least 20 passes. Let's say that's start worthy. He's averaging just over 1 touchdown per game and just under 1 interception a game. And he also gives up 3 sacks per game. So, and they don't score, they lose. So if you're starting a DST, these guys pretty much got a baseline to be a top 6 or 7 DST, and they can obviously pick him off and run it in for touchdowns a couple of times as well. So, and to be honest, the Texans just don't have much at the moment. If Stroud's not there, they've got no running game. Their avenues to scoring are so limited. I just feel like the Jags is going to just walk all over them in divisional games. It's going to be low scoring anyway. So yeah, fire up the Jags. Again, they're very much available on waiver wires if you're trying to stream a defense.
Target Davis Mills. That's a great recipe for success when it comes to that defenses. I'm kind of taking the same kind of approach. Cleveland Browns up against the Jets this week, and it's just that quarterback play. Cleveland Browns, they mightn't be available in a lot of spots, but they just come off the bye. Might have been able to pick them up off waivers this week. And the Jets, we don't know the quarterback just yet. If it's Justin Fields, perfect. He is an absolute sack magnet. If it's Tyrod Taylor, maybe even better. Tyrod Taylor, he played the back end of week 7 up against Carolina, played half of the game there. 22 attempts, 2 interceptions, and he took 3 sacks. That one, I think Myles Garrett on the other side of the ball here for the Browns, he's just going to be absolutely licking his lips. And he'll probably try and do a lot of damage to those guys in that front. So, for me, Browns versus the Jets, it's a nice, easy one for the week. That's our start to the week. For week 10, we'll jump into our game previews again. Before we get in, 4 teams on bye: Chiefs, Bengals, Cowboys, and Titans. Let's get straight into it.
Let's preview the games for the week ahead. It's time for Game Talk.
Game Talk, kicking things off with Thursday night football tomorrow morning for us here in Australia. Like we touched on, divisional matchup, Raiders heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. Broncos are massive 9-point favorites and a 43-point total, so it is a little bit lower. In this one, Pat Surtain, their star corner, is out. Jacoby Myers on the Raiders side of the ball, he's gone, so we'll see a new kind of combo who steps up in that one. We could probably start there, actually, Secko, with Myers going out for the Raiders. I mean, Brock Bowers, he's just, don't even question about start or sit. He's an absolute stud. He's it's clear he was just injured at the start of the year, but in that wide receiver room, I mean, there's been talks Trey Tucker might be the number one here now. Dante Thornton hasn't really been getting much love. They might get Jack Besh, the rookie, involved. How are you kind of playing out the Raiders wide receivers after that Myers trade?
It's tough. It's hard to know. It's very hard to line up. You're sort of guessing at this stage. We'll know a lot more this time tomorrow. But I wouldn't be confident starting anyone. Trey Tucker has been good. He had that one big game. So you would think that he's in the box seat. Besh is my smoky though. Besh is I think is a chance that he sort of takes that step. He's a bit more in the mold that Myers was in. And the other big winner here is Genty. I think he's going to get more work out of the backfield at a necessity. Pete Carroll sort of hinted towards that. Obviously Bowers gets a massive tick, but I feel like you sort of want to just sit and watch this one. If you want to pick up Besh, I'd pick up Besh before anyone, just as a speculative. He could be the one that pops the most. He was the highest draft capital. He was the best college player. He's the most probably necessary out of all of them. So if I had to have a punt, I'd probably say Besh.
Yeah, I like the Besh call there, and he's readily available everywhere as well. Love the Genty player getting more touches out of the backfield. He had 5 catches for 47 yards and a score last week. So, again, could be padding that stat line again. On the Broncos, really, really easily. Cortland Sutton, my start of the week, no doubt. Bo Nix, have to start him against the Raiders. J.K. Dobbins, you start him. RJ Harvey, Secko, he's been on a touchdown streak. Do you think that, but like his snaps have only been around that 30% mark each game.
Mm.
Are you willing to play him in this one against a weak defense in the Raiders?
They're willing to in the chance that it may be a blowout, and he gets a bit more work. You're right. His usage is still down. He only had 2 carries. He gets targeted a little bit here and there. He had 5 last week, which is great. 551 and a touchdown's amazing. But you sort of need to, you need to like capitalize on that. He could very easily have a week where he scores you 3 or 4 points, and you're just like, it's a killer. The other thing is that, which is sort of underrated, is this. Remember there was talk at the start of the year about Sean Payton's Joker role. That's why people were drafting Evan Ingram, even though I was yelling at them to stop doing that, and said it was a horrible idea. But everyone seemed to think it was a good idea. Maybe RJ Harvey is this sort of Joker role type guy, and most unlikely of all. But he's sort of prototyping at the moment, just sort of doing that and getting those touches that are made for him. So you can do worse. It's a bye week. There's a lot of Bengals, Cowboys, Chiefs players on rosters. You may need to start him as a flex. It's doable in the fact that it might be a shootout. A blowout, and he may get the same sort of thing he's done the last few weeks, where he got 3 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. It's not going to happen, but he could easily get a touchdown and save your week with 4 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown, which again is in full PPR. It's 13 points. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and with Evan Ingram, before we move on, he's a sit. don't play Evan Ingram this
That's
week.
it.
I mean,
He's
3
a
targets.
drop.
Yeah,
He's a
I think he's a drop too. Only plays around 50%, 40% of the snaps. Yeah, that's what a whiff he's been. Moving on to the next game, it is the international game over in Berlin, Germany. Nice and early for us, Monday morning, 12:30 or 1:30, depending where you are. Falcons taking on the Colts. Colts are just under a touchdown favorite, healthy 48.5 implied point total. And straight out the gate, the running backs in this one, they are poised for bounce backs on either side. I think Bijan, if they don't feed him everything, I'd be shocked. And with JT getting those new defensive pieces, that and they're probably not going to be fully acclimated in. It's only been a few days since they've been traded. But I mean, if they get a lead in this one, they'll just feed JT everything, I think. So Drake London, how do you feel about him, Secko? I mean, coming off 3 touchdowns last week, you possibly can't sit him, but Sauce Gardner, they've added a little bit more. They'll probably show him a bit more attention this week.
Yeah, there's a fair chance he gets sourced. And again, it's not as hard for a defender to come over and play instantly and have an impact as it is an offensive player who has to learn more of the game plan. The game plan and the sort of plays are a lot less intricate than on the defensive side than they are on the offensive side. So essentially, if you're a lockdown corner, your role doesn't change a lot. Yeah, they won't try and motion him. They won't try and move. They'll just keep him to one side. So yeah, he could be great. Honestly, if I had Drake London, I'd be doing. This is the perfect time to trade him. Like you're not going to get any better value than you are right now off his game that he just had, and you could just get an absolute bonanza for him. So it's not too late. Shop him around. Don't make it as obvious that you want to get rid of him. Maybe package him up. Around another guy that you're happy to get rid of, and you can get sort of 2 for two studs really, because I think London's going to be well overrated by someone who wants him after that big game.
Yep, I'm with you there. So we're starting Drake London, even though Gardner could kind of you just can't sit him. Bijan was starting. Penix, I think you do start him this one. Even still, they could be coming from behind. If you have him there with 4 teams on bye, you probably don't have a lot of other options. On the Colt side of the ball, Kyle Pitts, of course, you're starting him no matter what. That's you don't need to think about that each week. The Colt side of the ball, JT, no doubt. Danny Dimes, no doubt. You have to start him. Michael Pittman, again, one to monitor with that injury. I think even if he does get the nod and he's healthy to play, I think you have to start him as well. Alec Pierce, I really like in this game. I was listening to something the other day, and the Falcons, they run a lot of single high coverage in that secondary, and Alec Pierce's yards per route run is like over 4 or something like that. And in comparison, that's what JSN is tracking for the year. So I'm not comparing Alec Pierce to JSN, but against that coverage, he's been absolutely lights out. They show a little bit more attention to Pittman, perhaps take him out of it, maybe stack a bit more on JT. Alec Pierce could go phenomenal. And I also think Tyler Warren probably has a bounce back in this one too, Secko, for the Colts.
Well, I think the Alec Pierce one's a great shout, and you're right. Tyler Warren will get a lot of tailing from the defenders as well. So Alec Pierce is the dark horse here. I think if you've got him, you can start him because he's also his air yards per target is one of the highest in the league as well, as just as flat yards per target. So if Jones is feeling it and airs it out a bit, they can definitely get over the back of and just one play is enough to make your week. So if you're tossing up and you're sort of tossing up between him and another flex worthy receiver, Pierce is definitely a play that I'd be signing off on. Other than that, we've covered off probably everyone. Plenty of starts in this game, which is good. None of us will see it, but see the box score when we wake up.
Yeah, I think probably a bit too brave trying to stay up through that one, and then straight into the early Monday morning slate. And kicking that off is the Ravens heading to Minnesota, taking on the Vikings. Ravens are 4-point favorites, and it's a nice 49-point implied total. I mean, Lamar, second game back from that injury, I think he will start opening things up with his legs. He might need to up against the Vikings too. Again, it's not a question whether you start or sit him. You start Lamar no matter what each week, but he could be in for a big one. Ravens on the ball, Derrick Henry, you probably start him as well. They could really get moving in this one and get leading. Zay Flowers, Secko, how are you feeling about him this week up against the Vikings?
I never know how to feel about Zay Flowers. That's the problem with Zay Flowers. I've never been a big Zay Flowers guy. I'll attest. I'll admit that off the bat. But what's he had? 5 for 64, 7 for 63, and then that was before his other games with that one big game at the start of the year. Everyone thought he was going to be amazing. And he had 7 for 75, which is great. 2 for 13 and 5 for 72 and 6 for 46. He just sort of putters along at that sort of level, which is, it's fine. He's probably a top 20 receiver, but I wouldn't get joy with starting him every week. So that's the problem. Vikings D have been really good as well with shutting down some of the better offensive players. So again, you're not going to sit him in this matchup, but I can't be pumped about chucking him in my lineup either.
And I imagine that's probably the same with the tight ends for the Ravens, Secko, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. I mean, Likely looks like he's definitely the more athletic. That's no question. Gets open in space. I think he had 3 for 60 last week, but Andrews, he's just the touchdown guy. So it's just like he can't really, none of them are lining up all at once.
Yeah, I mean, Andrews had 2 catches. They're both touchdowns, but one was a 2-yard touchdown as well. After they'd failed to get in a couple of times, and Henry had failed to get in at the goal line. Likely is definitely the better play, in my opinion. He's more likely to get catches and big catches. He's a lot better with the ball in his hand than Andrews now at 30. So if you got both for whatever reason, I'd lean Likely, but you probably stream better options. My start of the week's a better option in my opinion. Pretty clearly, Kate Otten. There's other guys that you could easily be getting off the waivers that I think are better options than Likely or Andrews.
Yeah, I'm the same. You don't need to pick tight ends that are competing up against each other on the same team in that one. And on the Vikings, Secko, straight at the bat, JJ McCarthy didn't really throw for too many passing yards. I think it was under 150 last week, but he had a couple of touchdowns and he ran one in as well, which for SuperCoach and fantasy, we absolutely love that. Ravens defense has been getting better. They traded for a couple of more, I think, edge pieces off the top of my head before the trade deadline. How do you feel about him in this matchup up against the Ravens?
It's hard to trust him just with that passing volume. I don't think it's going to change that much, especially early on. It could, of course, it could. The Ravens can always turn back into what the Ravens were, but to your point, you've been sort of spruiking this for a few weeks now. They're getting healthier, they're getting better. So yeah, I just don't think McCarthy's really a fantasy starter at the moment until he shows a bit more and gets a bit more confident. But he's a winner. That's the reason why I liked him at the start of the season is because the win last week was he's never lost in Michigan his entire life. He's won 19 games, I think, there. He played college there
Yep.
as a starter. He's only lost, I think, 4 games of football in his whole life. He beat Detroit. He beat Detroit on the road last week in a game where he had no right to do it, right? So he's going to do what needs to be done, it seems, more often than not. He had one bad game this year, which everyone sort of judged him off against Falcons that aren't now in retrospect wasn't that bad a performance because they've been pretty good against quarterbacks. So again, if it's super flex and you've got Dak, Flacco, Mahomes, obviously, you need to put someone in. He's startable. He could get 3 touchdowns again this week and kill the week for you. But you're not going to be wanting to pick him up and start him in a single quarterback league.
Yeah, it could be rough, but the high point total, you're hoping for a lot of back and forth in this one. It could just be Ravens putting them to the sword. A lot of things to happen. And in turn, Justin Jefferson, you're not sitting him no matter what. I think Addison, you could probably play him as well, even though he only had that touchdown that saved his day. There was some nice connections with him and JJ in the preseason that was coming along. TJ Hawkinson, I think you can sit him comfortably. Got bailed out by that touchdown against his former team last week. Jordan Mason, Secko, I think Aaron Jones, he was dealing with an injury. I'm not too sure if he's been ruled out. He missed practice.
I think he's going to play. No, I think he's going to play. All reports are that he's likely to play. So he took over last week. It was his first week back, and he was clearly the better player.
Yeah.
Before he got injured, I think he had 70+% of the work before he got out, or went out. So if you toss it up between those two, I think it's pretty clear Jones. He's a good pickup. Good pick up and play this week again as a bye week fill in. But I think Mason's sort of time's up. He had his chance to really run away with the job, and he sputtered his way through a couple of weeks and sort of fumbled the opportunity. No pun intended. But he's just, unfortunately for owners of him, he's sort of lost all of his value as well. You can't really trade him, so we just have to hold him and hope for brighter days. But I'm not
Yeah.
expecting that to happen.
I think the only real thing, and we don't want to hope for injury, but that's the only case that I can see now. If Aaron Jones gets injured again and misses more time, but even still, he was pretty poor those couple of weeks without him. Moving on, Bills heading to Miami in another divisional game. They're 9.5-point favorites. Biggest total of the week in this one with 50 points. We touched on if James Cook doesn't play. I mean, Secko, you've already picked up Ray Davis. Was it close for you between him and Ty Johnson out of those two? If you're looking to pick them up, I just saw a comment in the chat and there question between those two.
Yeah, okay. No, it's not particularly close. Ty Johnson's a passing downs back, which is fine. It's good. I don't think he's going to. I mean, having said that, Devin Singletary outsnapped Tyron Tracy last week, so anything can happen. I wouldn't say the Bills coaching staff has been known for their amazing decisions on personnel over the journey. So wouldn't surprise me if Ty Johnson becomes just the bell cow. But I think if Cook's out, Ray Davis gets the majority of work against a bad defense in Miami.
Yeah, I think Ray Davis with a bullet over Ty Johnson. For me, we've seen what he's done without James Cook. He is that profiles as that bell cow, like he touched on, and he's definitely going to be that goal line guy as well. For the Bills, if James Cook does play, he's starting him. If not, Ray Davis, Josh Allen, no question. Dalton Kincaid, he's just looked so good and makes such an impact for this Bills team. He's their clear target, number one target for them. You're starting him. Khalil Shakir, probably start him as well. He's pretty tried and true. Keon Coleman, I mean, just sit him, I think, for the rest of the season, maybe even for eternity. He's just, he probably doesn't have it. He's getting called out on social media, left, right, and center by all these media personnel. So, yeah, and even GM Brendan Bean has come out. Yeah, he's not too impressed with Keon, and they were actively trading for wide receivers too, but nothing could go through. So that speaks volumes for their Miami side of the ball. Secko, A-Chain, Waddle, end of list in this one.
Yeah, that's it. They just haven't shown enough. Anyone else to even warrant it? Tua has had one good game, good on him, but you can't be starting him. So 2 players and that's it.
Yeah, he scored 11 points last time they took on Buffalo. Oh yeah, it's going to be a bit of a gross
Seems
one
high.
in there. Yeah, seems high. I think
seems like a high score.
A little.
In a minus score, I think against it once.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, poor Tua. He's might be off to a different place next year potentially. One little guy just to mention before we move on to the next one, Greg Dulcich. If you are struggling for tight ends, you've got a spare bench spot. He had 5 catches for 49 yards last week. Snap shares going up. Besides Waddle and A-Chain, I mean, they got Malik Washington, but he hasn't really looked too good. I'd be picking him up. 0% rostered, it's telling me. So, yeah, you can find him anywhere. And Darren Waller, they might just shut him out for the rest of the year. Moving on, Browns taking on the Jets in New York. Don't need to spend a lot of time on this one. Browns are favourites, minus 2.5 points, 38-point total. I think for the Browns, Harold Fannin Jr., you start him. I think Njoku, you probably start him as well. Surprising that he didn't get moved, but those tight ends, Gabriel plays that area of the field. Judkins, the tight ends to the Browns, I think you sit all the receivers. Secko. And then for the Jets, I mean, Breece Hall, we were having a chat about it. The New York, they're probably just going to feed him everything because they want to try and, line him up for a big salary next year so they can get a nice comp pick in that draft because they didn't get a deal done, which was surprising. Garrett Wilson, he potentially might play. He was limited in practice today, so that's one to monitor. If he does get the start, I think you can probably start Garrett Wilson no matter what, no matter the matchup, because he's just going to get peppered in every possible way. So, yeah, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson on the Jets, for the Browns, Judkins, and the tight ends. Anything else really, Secko, that you think on this one?
No, it's going to be a pretty gross game. It's probably an avoid game. Low total. 2 teams that's sort of in tank mode. So not much to see from a fantasy lens.
Yep. And then moving on, another tough game that we'll blitz through. Jags heading to Houston to take on the Texans. Jags are favourites, 1.5 points. Even lower total, 37.5. So we know on the Texans side of the ball, no CJ Stroud, no real running game. they've got Nico Collins there with Davis Mills and, I mean, Dalton Schultz. I'd probably only Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins. They're probably the only two that I'd be looking to play on the Houston side of the ball. Secco, what about you?
I wouldn't be rushing to do it. I mean, Davis Mills has been okay in a couple of starts here and there in his career. He's been able to, he had an extended run. He had almost a whole year 1 year as a starter. I think when Deshaun Watson went down or something happened, whatever he did, he played most of the year. So he's done it here and there. But I mean, he does like tight ends of anything. So Dalton Schultz is a desperation play. I don't think you can sit Nico. He's too good a player. But then there's not really much else. All the rest of the hodgepodge of wide receivers are tough to trust week to week. So, and their running backs are unstartable in my opinion, especially just the way that Davis Mills is going to run the game. I think they're going to be able to stack the box a bit as well, which makes it even harder.
And on the Jags, Secco, I think it's going to be same scenario. Honestly, looking at it, I don't really want to start anybody. Travis Etienne, I mean, he's been pretty gross. Texans are just a great defense all in all. I think if you can, probably avoid everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Seen them all. There's no one really appealing at all in that entire offense against a good defense. That is. Next week might be a different story, but
yeah,
all
in a much
Jags.
Yep. In a much better game, the Pats heading to Tampa to take on the Bucks. Bucks are coming off that bye. Just under a field goal favorite at home, 48.5 total. We absolutely love to see it. Bucks side of the ball, Baker, start him every single week. No doubt. Rashad White, Bucky's not going to play. I think you can start him. Pats are a bit tough against the run, but he plots along. He gets receptions. Probably pencil him in for a touchdown if they get close. And Emeka Egbuka, no doubt. K-Dot in your start of the week probably covers everything on the Bucks side of the ball. Secco, is there any kind of deep wide receivers that you think might come in? Or, I mean, Chris Godwin's still out. Mark Evans still a few weeks away.
There's a bit of love for Tez. Obviously, the bye last week sort of cooled that down a bit, but the week before, people picking him up, someone playing him. He didn't do a lot from memory. The week before, I haven't looked that up, but he sort of had that big catch in week 7, and then in week 8, I think he's a bit quiet. But it's really just you covered it off. I think Egbuka is going to be a really good spot because they'll get him open. They'll work the plays to get him into positions to get him open, and then Ott, I think, is just a great against the Patriots. The tight ends always seem to go fairly well, but Rashad White's again a good play, but it's not something. They're not one of the offenses you want to look far and wide for. They're pretty condensed in with Godwin and Evans out. Pretty condensed on who they want to start.
And the Patriots, pretty similar too when it comes to a condensed offense. I mean, Drake May, start him no matter what. Up against the Bucks too, who'll be invited to throw the ball a bit more. Trey Henderson, your start of the week. Very nice start here with Stevenson looking to be out. I think Stephon Diggs has a nice game in this one with Kayshon Boutte. We did have a comment in here as well that I saw. Doesn't look like he will play this week, but I think he had on his Discord. I saw it on Instagram. He might only miss this week, and then he's training towards playing the next week. So playing without Boutte this week. Any other starts on the Pats? Secco, how do you feel about Demario Douglas in this one?
I feel like last week was a bit of a one out of the bad game. I did hear a bit of a narrative. Narrative had happened. Don't downplay it, but his uncle had passed away on the Saturday. So a bit of a bit one of those games where the players just seem to sort of get up when they have sort of family issues, and it's obviously it sucks, but he maximised probably his best game for over a year. I would think he's been good at times, but not amazing. Wouldn't want to start him. Again, no Boutte means that he could be great again. Hunter Henry is probably the one who you'd want to start because someone has to be getting those targets, and Diggs is a bit in and out. Another thing is Douglas only had 4 catches. He had a big one, 58-yard touchdown. Outside that, it's a bit gross. So you're chasing that, you sort of might let yourself down a little bit. Henderson's the big play, obviously.
Hopefully a lot of points in that one. I'll be watching that game pretty closely. One that I won't be, though, Saints heading to Carolina, taking on the Panthers, another divisional game. Panthers are favourites, 5.5 points. That's probably the biggest time they've been favourites in a while. 39.5 total. super gross. So gross. On the Saints side of the ball, Tyler Shuck, we saw what he did last week. I actually didn't mind. Like, he didn't look too bad. Like, on paper, up against the Rams, like the Rams is such a good defense, but he wasn't too bad on his throws. And he kind of matched up with Shaheed. I think maybe they were pumping up Shaheed a bit more before they traded him off, perhaps. I think Chris Olave, you can probably start him this week because there's nobody else. And also Juwan Johnson, he's been getting some love with Tyler Shuck too. So they're probably the only two for the Saints. Kamara, you can't start Kamara. You have to sit him. He's absolutely no chance. And on the Panthers, Secko, Rico Dowdle, if he starts, no doubt. If he doesn't, Chuba Hubbard goes in. Bryce Young, you could probably start him. You can do a lot worse this week. He wouldn't be too bad against the Saints. And I think Ted McMillan could be in prime for a bounce back in this one against divisional opponent.
I feel like this is a really good spot for him. I'll probably probably regret that. He was pretty close to being a start of the week of mine. I feel like some teams just dominate the Saints so much that they sort of don't try and put the foot down and they just sort of run the game out. I don't feel like it's going to be like one of those games. I feel like they're going to sort of it's going to be a lot closer than others have been against the Saints. The Panthers have been quite good at home, but we'll wait and see what happens there. McMillan's been good at home this year. He's had a number of good games at home. He had the 2 touchdown game at home. He had 97 for 97 last time. So yeah, I think he's probably the best start. Obviously, Dowdle if he plays, I probably wouldn't start Chuba if Dowdle's out. It sounds really silly, but they'll probably try and mix in whoever their other guy is. He doesn't look like he's 100%. The way he's running, he's just not the same guy as he was last year. So I probably think Dowdle plays, but we'll wait and see what happens there.
Moving on, Giants Bears, a nice fun one this week. Couple of our starts of the weekend here too. It's in Chicago. Bears are 4.5 point favorites, 47 total. We love that. On the Bears side of the ball, Roma Dunzo, your start of the week, no doubt. Secko, in turn, Caleb Williams, you can start him. Comfortably starting Colston Loveland again this week too against the Giants. DJ Moore, you're probably looking to start him as well. There should be a lot of points in this one. The running backs is probably the only question. I think Swift still dealing with that groin injury the last I saw. Oh no, he says he will play in week 10. So if both of these guys get to start here, would you be comfortable playing both? Secko, I know Coleman Ongai, he's kind of been splitting the work, even with Swift the last few weeks. He's been okay, but you really hope that he gets a touchdown because if he doesn't, he probably won't get enough work on the ground to support your team this week.
It's a great call. They've been working him in quite a bit, but I feel like if Swift's good to go, he's just going to get the lion's share again. The week before, he was 7 carries to Monongai to 11 Swift. And he ran poorly. To be honest, his only good game has been the one when he had the backfield to himself in terms of efficiency and running the ball well. The week before, he actually had 13 to 19 as well. That was the Saints though. Again, so it's a bit of an outlier game. This is the Giants. They're not as bad. They're not as bad against the running backs either. So I'd probably start Swift. Probably wouldn't want to start Monongai. Having said that, he could get goal line work and punch it in a couple of times because they'll be down there enough.
And on the Giants, I mean, Jackson Dart. Oh, man, I don't know if you can really start the running backs like Tyron Tracy, Singletary. That's too much of a question mark there on who's leading. Looks like a very clear split. For the wide receivers, super gross. Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, I don't even know off the top of my head how he's been performing the last few weeks.
I was actually thinking that when you said it.
11 targets last week, 9 catches for 46 yards. So he's back to his last year self.
That's him. That's him.
But I mean, they're going to be.
Slayton had an alright game, I think.
Yeah.
I think Slayton's doing a bit more. He's actually pretty good. Like, he's their best. He's their best start option. If you're in a full PPR, I get the want to play Robinson. Probably have a similar stat line, which full PPR is good for 13.5 points. It's pretty decent. But Slayton's the one who's more likely to get you some points. So I'd probably lean his way.
Yeah, he missed a big touchdown last week too, so that would have definitely changed his outlook. Now, so yeah, Slayton, I think, too. That's the only one. Tight ends, Theo Johnson, no real interest in that either, Secko.
And again, we just saw the Bears give up like 40-something points last week. They can give it up. Dart's good enough to make Johnson a touchdown scoring guy every week. So again, if you've got him, he's in that sort of that low streaming. I'd have Otten obviously ahead of him as well. And Mason Taylor is in that same sort of cluster, but Juwan Johnson's probably there as well. There's a few guys. If you feel it, it's probably more of a feeling play. If you feel like it's going to be more high scoring and Dart's going to play all right, which I do, I'd probably lean Johnson's being ahead of the bunch of those guys.
And moving on, the second slate of Monday morning, kicking things off, another divisional game. Cardinals heading to Seattle. Seahawks are just under a touchdown favorite, 45.5 total points. Again, this is a nice divisional game too, so we'll be a little bit up in the air. I think the last time they played a few weeks ago, it was kind of close. I think it might have come down to the wire just off the top of my head. But in Seattle, in this one, they've just got Rashid Shaheed brought in. JSN, you start him no matter what. The tight ends, you're probably going to find better starts out there, more consistent. Kate Otten, no doubt. Pick him up if he's out there. You play him over these two. Rashid Shaheed, Secko, do you think he can come straight in after getting traded and make an impact in this one?
I think the only reason why he can, or the main reason why he can, is because he played in Clint Kubiak's offense last year and he knows. So it's not like the usual where he has to learn absolutely everything and essentially not know where to stand. It's hard to comprehend how complex these things are if you don't know it. I think it's normal to think, well, how hard can it be? You go out there, you run, you get open, you get the ball, but there's so many more complex patterns, and where to line up and when to line up on the line and not movement, motion, and stuff. He'll know all of those packages, so it means he can actually go out and play a high percentage. And all that means really is you'll play a high percentage of snaps. Normally, a guy trader will play around 40 to 60%. He could be up in the 80s straight away. If Cup's out, he will be as well. So yeah, I mean he's sort of similar to Alec Pierce. This Arizona defense isn't great. They're beatable long. Darnold's accurate enough to beat him long as well. So beat those guys get long. So I think he's a desperation play probably, given he's just changed teams a couple of days ago. But I could definitely see a world where he's a top 12 receiver on the end of the week.
And the hardest question always when it comes to Seahawks game, Secko, the running backs. I've just pulled it up in the game. The last time they played it was in week 4, I believe. Seahawks won 23-20. It was in Arizona. The rushing backs are Ken Walker, 19 carries for 81 yards. Gave you a catch for 29 yards, and then Charbonnet 12 for 39, but he got the touchdown as well. So I mean, it's probably going to be very similar stat line again, honestly.
Yeah, I remember it well. That's the game where everyone was like giving Marvin shit, and he cried when he had the touchdown. And Kyler Murray did all of his work in the last quarter, all of his touchdowns in the last quarter, and almost got them back over the line. But yeah, that was the Ken Walker hadn't been crap before then, and that was I remember people getting real crappy on the real shitty on the WhatsApp about Charbonnet stealing the goal line touchdown. And ever since then, it's been pretty much more and more of that every week. So I wouldn't start either of them at the moment. It's very, very hard. You sort of don't want to pray for an injury, but you almost want to hope if you've got one of them that the other guy gets done, so that actually they're viable, because together in a good offense, they're still pretty gross. One of them alone would be pretty good for fantasy.
How about this, Secko? On the other side of the ball, the Cardinals, would you start DeMarcado over either of Walker or Charbonnet? You wouldn't go that far, or how do you feel on that one? It's gross. It's a gross question, but
yeah, it's hard. Hope Trey Benson plays and start him. Yeah, I'd probably if I had those three in my team, this is going to sound ridiculous. I think I'd start Charbonnet.
Yep,
he's most likely to score a touchdown of those three.
Yeah, I would too.
Because it could be Bam Knight. Like, that's the thing. It was DeMarcado last week. It could be Bam Knight getting the majority of carries again. It could be some other random dude could pop up. It's so hard. I think they're just biding time. They're just treading water until Benson's back. I think in that offense.
And on the Cardinals, we're not starting the running backs, but I think you can start Marv and both McBride now together. That's just with Jacoby Brissett under center. would you start Jacoby Brissett in this matchup? Secco, I know the Seahawks, they've been pretty tough, but he hasn't played too bad lately.
He's played pretty good. I wouldn't be confident doing it. He's sort of in that same. He's probably around JJ McCarthy for me. He's a super flex starter, but he's not anyone I'd think of starting in a 1 QB league.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, Lions heading to Washington, taking on the Commanders. They are 8-point favorites. Nice 49.5 point total in this one too. On the Lions, really easy. Goff, no doubt. Jamo. Oh, actually, I'll leave Jamo for last. Amon-Ra, no doubt. Jameer Gibbs. I think he has a big bounce back week for the Commanders. I mean, I think the Lions, they could really put, 30 plus on the Commanders, I think. So even Monty might be viable. He might get a score. And if they're smacking them, they might try and get him a bit more involved over Gibbs. It's really Jamo and Sam Laporta. That's really the questions for the Lions each week. I mean, they kind of take turns. They both went well last week because they were kind of playing from behind in that one against the Vikings. But how do you see Jamo and Sam Laporta in this matchup, Secco?
It's a tough one. Jamo's almost impossible to trust, but any given week he can be huge. So it's a conundrum. It's probably the right matchup for him to play. We saw last week everyone scored. Horton got 2. A guy called Cody White got a touchdown against the Commanders for Seattle. He got a big one. He's a monster. It's the kind of thing that JMO can do, and he's great with his pace. So, as you said, off the top, in the starts of the week with Lattimore out, their secondary is burnt. Jamo's the kind of guy who can beat them all. Laporta's similar. Arroyo scored. Barner got involved. If anything, last week's anything to go by, he should be right. I honestly think the reason why you've got Goff for study week is because any and all of these guys can score and can get home. So I would definitely be starting Laporta if I had him.
And on the Commanders, quickly, I mean, in my head, it's kind of only Deebo Samuel. I think Mariota, he's going to have to run a lot in this game. Their O-line's pretty banged up as well. So wouldn't surprise me if he had 60 rushing yards on the day and threw in a touchdown. And he's kind of serviceable compared to a lot of guys. But, I mean, Deebo, I've got him in a couple of spots. Mariota is not a great passer. How do you feel on that Commanders side of the ball?
I feel okay for Deebo because it's sort of it's a bit of a bounce back. It's a bit of a bounce back spot for him. Mariota's good enough. Like the weeks that Mariota filled in, Deebo had I think 2 good games and 1 bad game or 1 average game. So it hasn't been all terrible for him. It helps that Terry's out, helps that McCaffrey's out, helps that their other receivers are people like Jalen Lane and Chris Moore still there. I don't even know. It sort of helps that there's not a lot of competition for him. Ertz is Ertz. He's equally as old or older. He's older, but on the field they look as old as each other. I think Debo's the kind of guy he can get open, he can get catches, he can get scores. So obviously not starting Ja'Cory either until he shows you some more. This is a bad matchup. There's brighter days ahead if you have him, but it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Chris Rodriguez probably gets more work than him this week in this one, which is, disgusting. Moving on, another nice divisional game here and a very healthy total, 49.5 total points. Your game of the week, Secco. I'm sure you'll be eyes glued on this one. The Rams heading to San Fran, taking on the Niners. Rams 4.5 point favorites. Like I mentioned, just under 50 point total. Probably start off with the 49ers on this one. If Mac Jones plays, I mean, it was a few weeks ago, but do you start him against the Rams in this one? I mean, he lit you up, Secco, just to put that on you and bring that memory up again. But I don't know. It's questionable because George Kittle, you start him no matter what. CMC no matter what. Juwan Jennings, I think you can probably start him as well. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about the 49ers in this one?
The Ramsey's been really good as well. So I'm not just saying that either. Like have objectively been really good defense against sort of a wide array of teams. Mac Jones is playing okay. He's throwing touchdowns. He's fantasy viable because he throws plenty of touchdowns. He had a couple of lean weeks in there. but he's thrown 3-1-2 and 0-0, then 2-2. So it's all about game plan. This is the kind of game they're going to have to throw, which is good if you wanted to. We're starting the guys you said. I don't think you can look elsewhere than Mac Jones. I just don't see it as as why you'd want to start him. I'd start Mariota ahead of him.
Yep.
I'd start JJ McCarthy ahead of him as well. There was someone else we just mentioned before who had in that conversation. Brissett. I'd probably start Brissett over Mac Jones. There's gross games are just too gross. He had 152 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception on 26 attempts against Atlanta. So, and they won the game, and that's the worst part. They win the game when he does that because he's game management mode. So, it's the worst thing you want to have late in your week when you need a decent score from your quarterback to put up a 6 or something like that.
Yeah, that's an absolute week killer. For the Rams, is there anybody that you don't start? Secko, that's probably an easier question. 49ers are super banged up. They keep losing pieces. Their first round draft pick this year, I think he drafted at like 11th. Michael Williams, big defensive edge there. He's gone for the year. But I mean, yeah, big bounce back. Stafford loves throwing those touchdowns close to the line. They'd have to win this week, right? I'm not trying to jinx you, but surely.
Put all your money, every multi you've got, just include San Francisco, at least at the line, but just put them on the win. They're going to win. They're going to win, man. Trust me. It was weird last week. It was against the Saints. It probably doesn't count as much, but all 3 tight ends got involved last week for the Rams. So I don't think that's going to be actually all 4 of them. If you include Colby Parkinson, you got to catch, but. Terrence Ferguson, good to see him involved. 3 targets, 54 yards. Davis Allen, 3 for 4 and 37 yards. And Higbee had the touchdown and of 3 of 4 targets. Weird. I think you start everyone except Tutu Atwell. But yeah, you start your Puka, Devontae, Kyle Williams. Blake Corum's an interesting one. He's seen a lot more work of late. So he's a watch. He's a bit of a watch for me. Because he's sort of eating into work even before the game's completely out of hand. So if the game is out of hand, he's going to get all the work. They want to obviously protect Kyron because of his workload last year. So he's a bit of a watch, but yeah, you've hit on the head on the ones to start.
Moving on, in the primetime game, Sunday night football, 11:20 here for Australia or 12:20, depending where you are. Steelers heading to LA, taking on the Chargers. Chargers a field goal favorite, 45-point total. I think Chargers lose this one. I think that injury to Joe Alt out for the year, I think that is massive. That is just such a big loss for them. We saw how they looked without Joe Alt there. Actually, in our plays to buy low and sell high, show that we dropped on Wednesday morning, I've got Justin Herbert as a sell high. Quarterback 2 on the year. I just think, that Joe Alt injury, that's just devastating. I know they did trade for one of the Saints tackles, but again, it's night and day between him and Joe Alt. I just think the Steelers, they might go on a little bit of a tear here. Their defense is starting to come together. The Chargers don't really have a running game. I think, Vidal's kind of filled in where he's needed to, but he's fallen off the past couple of weeks. And without Alt, I don't think they'll be able to get anything going. So on the Steelers side of the ball, I'm not going to, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers. If you've got other options out there, look to start them. DK Metcalf, I feel like you kind of have to start, even though he probably could cook you on the week. But then again, in turn, he could win you the week if he has a big long bomb and maybe even he's capable of those multi-touchdowns. Jalen Warren, I think he's a very solid start, tried and true. Anything else on the Steelers from you, Secko? How are you feeling about Rodgers in this one?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to start Rodgers. The Chargers have been okay as a defense. He's going to get pressured a lot. I feel like that's why it's a good Jalen Warren game, to be honest, because he gets out of the backfield as well. But yeah, he's been pretty efficient last week. Not so much against Indy. He did score twice though, so he had a good fantasy day. But he's been an efficient runner ever since their bye. He's been great, over 4.7 per carry over that time. So I expect him to sort of be probably one of the biggest winners out of this contest. And then obviously on the Chargers side. It could be, again, it's that roulette. There's sort of 4 guys now, which sucks even more if you're picking between them. you've got one of them. Gadsden's obviously a smash start. So he's a tight end. He's probably a top 5 tight end at the moment. And you got to sort of pick, who's going to be best. McConkey is the best player. He's come on the most. He's the best. Best performed over the last month. I'd start him, but I probably wouldn't want to start QJ or Keenan if I could avoid it.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. If I had to pick out of the 3 to fade out of the wide receivers, would be QJ in this one. Again, I just don't think Herbert will have as much time in the pocket to let his routes develop further down the field. And he just, might not. Just, those quick areas, short targets to Keenan and Ladd could be in for a big one at Gadsden. Yeah, he's been absolutely lights out. The final game of week 10 here, Monday Night Football. The Eagles heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers. And what a great game for, an isolated game, end of the week. This one's going to be a great watch. Packers are just under a field goal favorite at -2.5 points. 45-point total as well. So I'm hoping that this isn't a defensive slog. I kind of have a feeling it might be, battle of the running game, defense in this one. But you can't really sit anybody, I don't think. I mean, the Eagles side of the ball, Barkley looking like he'll play back off injury or back off the bye. He was dealing with that groin injury. Should be good to go. Devonta Smith, he's been pretty consistent in the last few weeks. AJ Brown, one to monitor, dealing with that hamstring injury. Skeptical of that. Have to wait and see. I mean, if he gets the nod, you probably do start him because there's going to be some back and forth in this one. Dallas Goedert, Secko, with if AJ Brown gets the nod and Devonta, is Goedert a sit for you in this one?
It's one of those things. He's only ever good when one of the other two misses. If they both play, he generally doesn't do that much. So, in this matchup, I probably would sit him. I'd look for other options. He's behind a few of the guys we've said already. I'd start Devonta Smith over AJ Brown in a vacuum as well. But I think if he's fit and ready to play, Brown, you start him. If you don't, the other two are startable. And Saquon, I think, is in a great spot. If he's with a groin, I think if his groin's good, the Packers have been sort of susceptible against the run a bit of late. So we just saw Dowdle go mental last week against them as well. So, I think this is a big game for Saquon if he's fit.
And on the Packers, Josh Jacobs, no doubt. Jordan Love might be a bit of a tough one, but, considering where you draft him and the options you have this week, you're probably going to have to start him. Their wide receivers, Romeo Dobbs, however he likes it. He likes his cat skinned or whatever that saying is. Christian Watson, I think you take him in this one. He could, I think he kind of matches up okay against the Eagles corners. And, he's a massive, 6'4", 6'5", very freaky athlete. Could catch a big bomb, I think, at any given moment. So he's a nice play. Luke Musgrave, how do you feel about him in this one? He's not going to take over that Tucker Kraft role. He's going to slot in as that tight end position, but he's not Tucker Kraft. There's only a handful of tight ends in this league that can do what Tucker Kraft does, and Kittle and Warren are probably the only two that I can think off the top of my head that kind of have that play style. But how are you feeling about the Packers, Secko? It also looks like Matthew Golden will probably miss this week as well.
Don't forget your boy Colston, who broke a couple of arm tackles. That it's almost like they weren't trying to tackle him, the Bengals guys. But Musgrave is it's a strange one because if he can come in and do similar to what Kraft's done, Kraft light, then he'll be startable. He'll be start worthy. They need someone. I think Christian Watson gets the biggest bump out of Kraft being gone. If I'm being honest, because he doesn't have to just win long. He's proven that he did start his career doing that, but he's able to win 6'4" and 210. He can win like a tight end. And to be fair, like Kraft is getting balls, easy passes into space, and Watson can actually win in space as well. So I think he's going to be the big winner. Musgrave's a watch. Pick him up if you've got a spare bench spot, because if he just turns into Kraft, he could be a 6 for 60 guy pretty easily just by role. He's decent enough. He had good enough draft capital, so definitely worth a pickup.
Yeah, I like that for sure. That is all the games for week 10. Hopefully, we've answered a lot of questions there and start sits of the week. Looking forward to this week. I look forward to every week, but I don't know, week 10, double digit weeks, and things might, start getting a little bit magical Perhaps maybe that's a bit too wishful thinking. We will get into some comments here, purely just start sit questions, or if you're looking to start sitting SuperCoach as well, guys. We appreciate all the comments. Absolutely. If you have any other questions outside of that, please just drop them on the YouTube video after this show drops fully on there after we finish being live. And then, yeah, we can get to those before the game starts tomorrow. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, best way to support us, the freest way, like, subscribe, ring that bell. We drop multiple shows each week. We're at 6 currently. We'll still be dropping at least 4+ probably for the remainder of the season too. So if you want to stay in tune and gain some great insight in terms of NFL fantasy and SuperCoach, this is the best place for it. Let's get to the comments. Kicking things off. Couple of nice comments here. Hi guys, we'd love to see it. Hi John. Suvo88, thanks a lot for the content you put out, lads. Love the show. Thanks heaps, Suvo. I'll be I've actually dealing with him in a trade for Jackson Dart. That's what I was actually talking about in the Dynasty League. So I'll have to wait and see how we go there. Hopefully I've talked him up enough.
He's trying to buddy you up. He's trying to buddy you up. I love that.
I was trying
Good work, Suvo.
trying to talk him up a little bit more.
Pay.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Devon Velez, is this really live? Honestly, it's been a long week. I could not believe that one. Real quickly, what do we think on Kraft's injury? He's done for the year. Move off, pull in Musgrave if you're there, or even Kate Otten in traditional fantasy. Charles Zamet, and I will just follow this up. He's thrown in a nice little question. Great to join in tonight. We're always good to see you comment, Charles, and of course that dual Brisbane profile you've got here. I do bring it up. I'm a very big Broncos supporter. AFL is not too much of a key thing, but I watched the Lions in that one, and I was at the Sydney Grand Final when the Broncos won this year, which was unreal. So, Charles, to get you a question, I want to offload Golden. I can afford Marvin Harrison or AJ Brown. Secko, how do you feel on this?
SuperCoach question. I want to pick up Marvin Harrison. I think he's with Brissett in now. I think we can have a bit of confidence. He's not going to get burnt week on week. And we saw it last week. He's a focal point. And Brissett just moves the ball down the field, gets him into scoring position more. Even McBride's got a massive bump with his news that the fake ankle got worse.
Yeah, and AJ Brown dealing with that hamstring injury as well. He might miss this week.
I'm off AJ Brown in general. I just don't think he's the guy that he is being. He's going to have big games, but he's not going to have them consistently like he used to. And Devonta Smith's actually come on to be the number one, in my opinion, for that team.
Yeah, agreed there. One here from Sean Kemp about the James Cook injury. We touched on this, but Ray Davis, if you have to pick out of those two. From Flames, who should I start? Zay Flowers, Garrett Wilson, or Wan'Dale Robinson? Well, that last name really throws a spanner in the mix there, but it's really Zay Flowers or Garrett Wilson, Secko. I mean, like, Garrett Wilson coming off that injury might not play. I think if he does play, I'd start Wilson over Flowers, though. But, yeah, how do you see that this week?
Who's Garrett Wilson got again?
The Browns.
Oh, a tough one. Okay, that changes it then. And I hate Zay Flowers so much. The answer is Garrett Wilson, but Zay Flowers is your safety, is your safe guy. Depends what you need. If you need safety, I think Zay Flowers is going to get. He always gets an okay day. He never burns you. So, I think and Garrett is still underdone. I think, isn't he? He's not 100% necessarily.
Yeah, but I think if they do play him, you'd hope that he's not carrying anything more. Charles here, gents, do we think Booty plays? Touched on that. He's not playing this week. He's probably going to be back next week. From JR, 3-6, just trade away Bucky and Nico for Saquon and T. Higgins. Don't mind it. 3-6, yeah.
like
Saquon, T's off the bye, but Bucky, I mean, man, what's going to happen there? And honestly, I think I'd probably rather T over Nico.
Bucky's on the bye too, and Bucky's on the bye too, maybe for another couple of weeks, and Nico's on the bye this week with Davis Mills as well. So I think he wins it pretty comfortably, personally.
Rest of season, Secko, Nico or T. Higgins? And I think you've just freezed. No. Oh, no, you're coming through.
T's up there for me somewhat with Flacco, but Nico's just dropping like a lead balloon down my rankings at the moment.
Yep. And Saquon Barkley, nice rest of season schedule for the Eagles running game. One here from Jay up. Who would you start, Harvey or Breece Hall? Breece Hall for me. That's not close. He's just going to get so much work.
Yep.
Tough matchup, but should get a lot of dump off passes as well. And then would you start Stephon Diggs, Harvey again, or DJ Moore at flex? So we're starting Breece Hall. Then we've got an opportunity or option of DJ Moore, Harvey, or Diggs. I'm going with Diggs. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Diggs with Booty out.
Yep. Moving on, another one from Jay up. Pick two of these RBs to play: Judkins, Genty, and Henderson. Judkins and Genty, Secko, or would you kind of
White and White
White and Harvey?
And
Harvey.
Harvey.
Yeah, okay.
I'd go Rashad White and Judkins. Oh no, Genty and Judkins.
Yeah.
Oh, Henderson, start of the week, Henderson.
Yeah.
Can you start all four? Can you bench your receivers in the flex spots?
And what was the second part? Actually, and would you start Keenan Allen at flex or one of those RBs I listed that you guys don't pick for the two? Oh, well, there you go. Judkins, Genty, Henderson.
Read that.
Yep, that's easy.
Yeah.
And the last question here from Jay up. Pick one of these tight ends. Start Juwan Johnson, Kate Otten, Harold Fannin, and then would you start Chubb at flex or one of those T's you don't pick up for the one? Well, you love Kate Otten, Secko. I think I'd probably lean
the one there.
Him overall, and then Charbonnet or another tight end for you.
It's Charbonnet or Fannin for me. I'd probably go Fannin over Charbonnet in the flex. If it's any PPR, of course. He's sort of with Gabriel. He's sort of profiled like a wide receiver. He's getting plenty of catches. So I think he's the best option. Charbonnet's just a touchdown or bust, which sucks at the moment. Hard to trust.
And he probably has a friendlier matchup to Fannin going up against the Jets out of the rest of those guys. So, yeah, love that one there. We're in line. One here from Past the Source, maybe a Source Gardner fan, perhaps. Otten and Chubb. So if that's a start or sit between those two, Secko, you're leaning Otten in that one?
Well, it's sort of mentioned from the one before, but yeah, I'd go Otten over the two.
Yep.
Out of the two.
Me too. Cornelius Woodward. Pick 4 PPR, Puka, GSN. I'm going to take that as JSN, McConkey, T-Mac, Franklin. Please pick 4. Well, Puka, JSN, no doubt. McConkey. It's really T-Mac or Troy Franklin. And I think that's T-Mac pretty comfortably. Secko?
Yeah, it's T-Mac. It's T-Mac. Yeah. The question probably not to be too harsh. The question could have been T-Mac or Franklin. But yeah, I just think at home. I just think, I mean, you're not sitting Puka or JSN. And McConkey, I think, is just a smash as well. So, I think T-Mac's spot at home this week is just a good spot. He plays well at home, so does Bryce Young. So, I expect a decent game from T-Mac.
Yep. No. Me too. One here from Ryan. We've got a couple here from Ryan. CMC or Puka with the vice captain. So, we had both of these guys on our Captain's Huddle show, and that link will be in the description below also. But yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah. I mean, Puka went off.
Rams.
Yeah.
He always kills the Rams.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
CMC then? Yeah, you'd go with him. Oh, I guess it's probably the healthier out of the two as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they could, if it goes the way that people think it is, and
another
the Rams do come, they might just rest Puka.
Yep, might just rest Puka. Yeah,
am I dropping out? I think the internet knows I'm sick at the moment. It's cucking it. He have you got me? You got me?
Yeah. No, all got you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no. So McCaffrey's just a safer bet. He dominates the Rams every time. They're at home. I'd be surprised if he doesn't have a decent enough game to have a good score to vice captain.
Yeah, I'm there with you. And if Mac Jones gets a start, CMC will get so much more work out of that receiving area as well. Another one from Ryan. Would you start Gadsden over Warren or McBride? Warren has the Falcons in Berlin, and McBride, I don't think he can sit McBride for Gadsden. I don't think that's close, but it's really Gadsden or Warren, Secko.
Yeah, I'd have Gadsden over Warren.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I think the matchup's probably a little bit better. But guys, thanks heaps, ladies and gentlemen, for throwing in all these comments into the chat. We've got Secko still dropping in and out a little bit there, so we'll quickly wrap things up. Best of luck for week 10.
I'm out.
Yeah. Best of luck for week 10, everybody. We'll be here back Monday night to kick it all over again and hopefully have less injuries to cover after the week ahead. But again, all the links to our previous shows will be in the description below. Make sure to show us some love. And yeah, please like, subscribe on YouTube if you are watching there. We absolutely love it. Thanks, Hall. Insight NFL podcast out for the week.
Bye. Goodbye.
Done.